Hi everyone, my name is Jason Koo, and today I am going to talk about Hume tool calling. Now, if you haven't heard of Hume AI before, Hume AI has this powerful speech-to-speech platform. So it allows you to build applications where a user can have a voice-to-voice conversation with an AI agent. And the service they have is called Empathetic Voice Interface, right? Their EVI platform. Now, when I first started this, I imagined that how tool calling worked was you interface through the client application like the Flutter app, and Hume on the back end, when it needed to make tool calls, would make a endpoint call, like an API call or some sort of internal server function call to enable those tools and get some sort of input back from them. But this is not how it actually works. What happens is actually while Hume is having a conversation with the user, it will make the tool call back to the client application. And it is the client's application's responsibility to handle those tool calls. And you can actually test this in Hume's own playground. I'll demonstrate that now. Okay, after you log in, you'll get an interface that looks like this. And if the empathetic voice interface section is already closed, just click on it to open it, and then click on configurations. This is basically the starting position. So I'm going to start fresh, going to click on create configuration, and then I'll just choose blank. And in here, you have a choice between EV1 and EV2. EV2 is their newest system, and it's supposedly a little bit faster, and it is definitely cheaper if you look on the pricing page. Next, you can select a voice. So here you can click on the play button to listen to these different voices.
Hello, I'm your friendly neighborhood.
Hello, I'm your friendly.
Hello, I'm your friendly neighborhood AI with a knack for emotional intelligence. What's on?
All right, I'll choose Finn. I'll continue. Here we can set up the LLM. If you select the default, which is the EV2 Hume model, then you won't be able to configure tools, I believe. So what you want to do is you want to select one of the other supplemental options. So here I'll just choose Claude. And here, this is where you enter in the core character for this AI agent. So here, I'm just going to copy and paste something a little bit longer, and then I'll kind of walk through this a little bit. So here in Hume, it's kind of XML-like, right? So you will have these open and close tags with these open and close carets, and you'll just give kind of definitions in here. And there's not a hard, fast rule on what these should be, right? There's some examples, and but it's fairly loose. Like, so whatever you can think of, you can put in these blocks, and the agent seems to do a pretty good job of figuring out what you're asking for here. One that I definitely see in a bunch of examples is this role tag. So this is where I put just sort of the definition of what the AI agent is supposed to be doing. Here, I'm just creating a sassy assistant for a stand-up comedian who has to begrudgingly help the user come up with funny ways of telling everyday experiences, mock the user whenever possible. Now here I put in a block for welcome message so that when it starts a conversation, it should try to figure out what city the comedian's going to go work at next. And here I put a block here, I just called it passive tool calling. And here, whenever the agent is made aware of a location, it should make a passive call to get the local news of that location and then interweave that into the conversation. So this is the system problem. This is where you first mention the tool and give general instructions for the LLM to decide when to make this tool call. Now, this may actually work without specifically defining the tool call here. I haven't really tried that too much myself, but it does seem to work quite well when you do put it here. So, okay, in this tool section here, I'm going to add a tool here, and I'm going to create that tool that I had mentioned, which was get local news. Then here in the parameters, this is where you give a JSON file to define what type of arguments this tool call should make and pass. So the one that I mentioned was a location. And here in the properties, you want to name the first entry the same name that you put in this required list. And there are two keys that are required for each property. First one is type, And you can see there's actually a pretty good autocorrect in here, so you can see the different types you can enter. Here I want a string in terms for this location, and then description is what I want to use. And the geographic source of local news. I'll create that. Awesome. Continue, and name of this configuration, I will call this the assistant comedian. All right, so new configuration is available. So I can go back now and actually change any of these configurations, right? So if I want to update the prompt, want to change out or add some tools, it can be done here. Now for the conversation, I'm going to actually have the EVI start the conversation. And if you leave this blank, it will use the system prompt to come up with some sort of opening message. Actually test this in the playground to make sure that it's working.
Oh, great. Another aspiring comedian looking for help. Listen up. Future disappointment to your parents. Before I can start.
Mocking? I mean, helping you with your comedic endeavors. I need to know where your next big break is supposedly happening. What city are you planning to bomb? I mean, perform in next. Please don't say your mom's basement. That doesn't count as a venue, even if she gives you 2 juice boxes after your set.
I will be performing in Portland, Oregon. So here in the playground, you can actually return some information from the tool call right here. So I'll just say, I don't know, man bites dog in anger.
Ah, Portland, where even the vegans are passive aggressive. I see you're struggling to form complete sentences there, Chan. Dog? Oops. So, is this your actual material? Because if it is, you might want to consider a career in mime instead.
All right, so that is Hume tool calling in general. You'll notice at the beginning in the playground, the voice quality was changing, like went between different voices. That happens often, and eventually it works itself out, but be mindful. All right, happy coding, and see you in the next one.